All right, we've made it to the after of before. Is this series finale worth watching? Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk to you about Before Episode 10, titled Before, coming to Apple TV Plus on December 20th, 2024. It is the finale, the series finale. Seems like a series finale. I don't think there's going to be more seasons of this, of Before, a 10 episode arc. The series is kind of have an up and down trajectory, but that penultimate episode was pretty good. Is this series finale worth it? My hot take is it's okay. I think you should watch it if you've been watching before. You should watch it. My normal review would be watch later. It's an okay episode. It's an okay finale that kind of gave us a lot of what we were hoping for, gave us some answers, but didn't feel like it tied everything together. There's been a lot of themes throughout before. I don't know if they all came to fruition. So I think it's okay. I think, they did what they could given all the weird circumstances that they put us in, but I don't think it was phenomenal. I don't think it was amazing. I think the series as a whole is just an okay series. It had some ups and downs, some good moments, some bad moments, but overall, I think it's just okay. If you like Supernatural, you might like some of the later parts. If you like the actors in this, and there are some pretty good actors, you might like this series. If you like character-driven psychological thrillers, you might like it as well. Overall, I'm happy I watched it. It's just not something I'm going to sing praises about. So, all that being said, I'm going to tell you a little about the episode, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this episode, and you might not, there are some shocking twists. We get some answers that we've been kind of thinking about for a while. I would turn off when I get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So, in Before episode 10, you have the kind of conclusion of the series. What happened at the end of episode 9 was Eli had essentially kidnapped, no, I mean, took him for therapy, exposure therapy, kind of kidnapped him from the hospital after Eli had driven a pen through his own hand. I loved that episode. I thought that episode was fantastic. And now they are going out to that farmhouse in the woods to try to figure out what all is going on and stop all these things from happening to Noah. Are they going to do it? Or is this just going to be one crazy road trip that ends in tragedy? We have to watch the episode and probably the whole series to really find out. So, things I liked about this episode. The first, I do like that we get answers. I mean, they tie everything together. They give us some of the answers to some of the imagery that they've shown us before. So, we do get some answers in this. Not great answers, but they are answers. Second thing I love the setting. The farmhouse, the places we go to after the farmhouse. It has this like dull matte look, but then you get these pops of colors. Like Noah has on like a red sweater, which is nice. There's some flowers that give us some pops of colors. It's a pretty beautiful visual to have these like overcast, drab backgrounds with little pops of color here and there and some kind of like interesting things to look at. And the third thing I love the farmhouse. I love that, we got there. I love what happened after. I like that, it all ended at the farmhouse. We've been waiting for that, and that kind of is where everything tied together. So, all that being said, things I didn't love as much. The first, I'll call it tenuous similarities. I mean, there's some imagery in here. There's some things that have happened that you can kind of get from the explanation and other things that you can't. I'm going to go into that more in the recap, but it didn't feel it felt like some of the stuff maybe was thrown in there just to be a little bit weird. Maybe I didn't catch it during the series, but I thought I followed it fairly closely, and some of the stuff just didn't really seem to connect well. And the second thing I didn't love as much, it was kind of an unfulfilling explanation. I mean, there is something that happened, and we see it, and then we get kind of like, how that connected to the people. It's not that fulfilling. It's not that kind of aha. It's not like, it's not even really that traumatic. So I did not love the explanation. I thought that there was a lot of buildup in this series, tons of buildup. What's going to happen? Why? All that stuff. And then we don't really get a great explanation. So it was okay. It tied, it answered the answers. It tied the storylines. I just don't think it was that fulfilling. So all that being said, before episode 10 comes to Apple TV Plus on December 20th, 2024, like I said, I think you should watch it later. I think this series is okay. So if this is in your wheelhouse, hey, sure, stream it on Apple TV Plus. If this is, if you don't normally like psychological thrillers, if you don't like horror light, I wouldn't subscribe to Apple TV Plus just for this. There is a lot of good content on Apple TV Plus, but this isn't something I would like run to watch. So If you do check it out, though, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And I'm going to really quickly go into a recap right now. So if you don't know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So in before episode 10, Eli is driving Noah to the farmhouse. Just a normal psychological session where he kidnaps him from the hospital and drives him to the farmhouse. Now, when he gets there, Noah kind of recognizes it, and Eli's like, what is it? What is it?" And Noah's like, "Something bad happened here when I was a little girl." And I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting surprise. All right," but that does fit with some of the things that Noah has said about the pictures that Lynn drew, things like that. It does feel like Noah in a past life was a different gender, and so hey, it's all connected now. So they go into the house. And there's this like weird darkness in there, like shadows on the wall that we kind of see, some like water imagery, things like that. It's not really super explained, but eventually Noah starts to freak out. Eli and Noah get separated, and Eli eventually breaks out of the house. And when he breaks out of the house, it seems like he goes back in time. He goes back in time to whenever that Dutch children's scene was. You don't really know what the time was. It's tough to tell. I don't know if it was like, and this also might just be my failing at history. I don't know if it was like 1750, 1850, 1901. Like, I don't know what year it was, but it seems like a while ago. There are Dutch children in like essentially Quaker clothes. You do look and see some houses. They don't look like old like log cabins. They look like normal houses. So I don't know what time it is. But it is in the past. Now he runs down to some sort of lake, and there we see three children. And it's winter, it's cold, and there are two girls and one boy. Eli is the boy, and Lynn is one of the girls. He recognizes her, and she says, like, "You found me. You always find me," or something like that, which is something that Lynn had said earlier, I believe. So Lynn is one of the girls. Eli is one of the boys. And I'm like, also, and one of the weird things here is like, they're all speaking English, which makes sense for a television perspective, but like, I don't know, they could have spoken Dutch. That's what the whole thing was. Like, why can Noah speak Dutch? Well, because he, in a past life, apparently was one of these little Dutch children. And so now that we're finally here, he's speaking English. Speak Dutch. Just go, be consistent. So we have two of the kids. The other girl we assume is Noah, and Noah's Dutch child character goes over to a tree and's like, "What's this?" and starts poking at it. And while they're all looking at there, that Noah kid is poking at some bees. So she, at this point, should not be doing that. That is not smart. They're like, "What is this? We don't know what this is." And they're poking at these bees, and eventually the bees start, come up and attack them because like they're attacking the hive. Of course they're going to do that. The children run, they run. Noah's character like goes towards the edge of this pond. Eli's character kind of bumps into her, but you can't really tell. Noah's character tries to like grab his arm and like slips off, and then Noah's child character falls on the frozen lake, hits the back of her head, and just like stands there dazed. And like her eyes go back up into her head. There's some blood in her nose, and then the ice cracks and she falls beneath the water. Now, one thing that's interesting, the bees aren't attacking anymore. I don't know why they're not attacking. You would think they would still be pissed that they were poking at their hive, but the bees stopped attacking. Another thing is that Noah didn't fall very far. I mean, it did look like a painful fall, but it didn't seem like a crazy fall. So Noah starts sinking under the water, and the Lynn child is like, "Jump, jump." And Eli's child is like, dazed, doesn't know what to do, and he just runs away. The Lynn child doesn't jump in the water. No, no, no. She wants Eli's character to do it. Eli is like, "Nope, I don't want to do anything." I think he's just scared. He doesn't want to get in trouble. He doesn't know what to do. So he runs away. That is the trauma. That is the horrible thing that happened years ago that has connected these three children for, I don't know how many years. I don't know how far back in the past it was, but a while at least. There it is. Now, when this is happening, Eli says, like, "I remember I pushed you and you drowned," but they didn't show that. I don't know if they didn't want to show Eli pushing the child. It looked more like he just kind of like bumped accidentally into the child. I don't think he pushed the child. So they're trying to project an amount of blame on Eli's child character that I don't think is deserved given the weird situation. I mean, it was a horrible accident. He probably should have gone in there and tried to help at least. That is on him, but he's a kid. Kids do dumb things. It doesn't feel like a big, horrible, traumatic incident. Now, we're back in modern times. Eli is there and he's looking for Noah. Noah is in a tree. He finds him, and Noah doesn't look like he's doing that well. It feels like he's not breathing well. He's kind of like not seizing, but not super responsive and things like that. And it also looks like there's a bunch of worms going through his head. So Eli picks him up and finally does what Lynn's character told him to do. Remember when Noah girl child, fell in the lake, Lynn's character's like, jump, jump, because she wanted him to go in there and get her. Well, now Eli is going to listen to Lynn, the ghost of Lynn, and jumps into the lake. They sink to the bottom of the lake. This is a very deep lake for how far he jumps. Very, very deep. Sinks to the lake, and then when they sink to the bottom, they're kind of like holding each other, and then we see what happened with Lynn. We see that Lynn was going through cancer treatment. She was not doing well, and she wanted to talk to Eli. And she said, like, I can't take this anymore. And Eli can't accept that. Eli doesn't want her to give up. Eli is kind of, I think, more thinking about himself and what he's going to do without Lynn than what she actually wants. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. There's all these trials we could do. And Lynn is just done. She's tired. She doesn't want to do any more trials. She just kind of wants to end it. And so Eli can't talk to her. He goes out for an hour, comes back, and Lynn has already like cut herself in the bathroom. And Eli gets in there. He tries to save her, but she says like, "No, no, help me." And she puts his hands on her throat. And again, you can't tell if Eli strangled her or just kind of like pushed her down. I think he kind of strangled her, but lightly. It's actually kind of a beautiful scene given what is happening. So I think he like lightly strangled her and then put her in the water after she was dead. So Eli, after this whole realization, wakes up in the water, brings Noah up from the lake, takes him out. He's not breathing. Eli starts giving him CPR and nothing happens. And I was like, I mean, Eli, you should like maybe try to clear the throat because it's probably his lungs are probably full of water. I guess maybe that's why he was pushing on his stomach. He doesn't give him air, which maybe you're not supposed to do that if someone is drowning. Maybe you're not supposed to give him air. I thought you were, but who knows? So Eli is just pumping on Noah's chest, but there's no response from Noah. And then finally he turns his head, coughs up some water, and he's fine. So Eli then goes and like cradles Noah to comfort him, and then we see kind of a parallel with Eli in the bathroom after Lynn was finally dead. He pulled her out of the bathtub and cradled her on the ground of the bathroom. Here he's cradling Noah in a similar way. It's sweet. It's an interesting connection. Again, a weird connection because they are the different children, but it's an interesting connection. So after all this, the police show up because they're worried about this kid that this therapist kidnapped, and so is the foster mom. Noah runs to the foster mom. They ask if he's okay. He says he's fine. Eli is just sitting there on the farmhouse. I don't know that they arrest him. You'd think they would arrest him. You'd think they would come guns drawn. That's what I would expect the cops to do, but no one seems to go after him. Now, later, we get an update on what happened. Eli is back in his house. He has written a paper about the case, and he writes about how it was a shared delusion. He puts it back into like psychology terms. But and he writes from a mostly scientific viewpoint, but there's a few things here and there, a few things where he's like, and maybe some of this stuff wasn't able to be explained. So it feels like Eli is like starting to accept the supernatural. Now, we find out that Noah is a happy kid. He looks like he's doing well. It looks like he's living happily with his foster mom. And also, Eli apparently can't go near him, which is a little sad because Eli did everything to save Noah, and now he can't even go near him because of the court order. We also find that Eli did 5 months of psychiatric treatment and then was released. And you're like, what? Like, he kidnapped this child. He also admitted to killing his wife. Like, you would think some of that would get looked into. Apparently not. Apparently, kidnapping the child, he just gets 5 months of psychiatric care. But I guess Noah did turn out okay, so maybe the ends justify the means. Who knows? Now, after all this, in the paper, he also talks about how, he talks about some of the circumstances, and at the end, he says basically like, if we are to believe in an afterlife, then we also need to believe in a before. And that is where this comes from. Like, before is the past lives that these characters have lived, and the trauma that then perpetuated into current time, propagated, and the trauma that like propagated into current time. Now, after all this explanation, he's looking at his face in the mirror and sees a worm in there. And this is right before a line that he says, like, essentially, if you open this Pandora's box, it can never be closed. So it seems like now Eli is screwed up. He's going to see supernatural stuff all the time. He goes for the worm. He's about to cut it out with his razor. And then his daughter shows up with a present from Graham. It's a rose. And he says, "What's Graham say?" And his granddaughter says, she says, "Thank you." And then she also says that Graham says to listen. And you're like, oh, maybe he'll hear something. Maybe he'll hear a voice. Maybe he'll hear some supernatural sound, nothing. He just hears the same music we've been hearing throughout this epilogue. And that's it. That's before. Like I said, it's okay. I mean, you know, is an explanation, I guess. First, it didn't seem like a crazy trauma. Like, yes, it's a tragedy. It's not an insane trauma. It's not like Eli's child pushed Noah's child into the lake to avoid anything for any sort of malice because he was worried about, like, there's nothing there. Like, they were running. It looks like maybe Eli bumped Noah, and Noah tried to grab his arm and just like slipped off because they're wearing weird clothes. That seems like the extent of it. But although it didn't even look like a big bump, it just seems like they were running. Noah kind of lost his footing or her footing when they turned around, and then Noah fell on the lake. Accident. Now, yes, Eli should have gone for help. Eli should have tried to drag her up from the water. But he's a stupid kid. It's ice, it's dangerous. If he would have jumped in there to swim, he could have gotten, pulled under also. Like, he's not super strong. He's not much bigger than Noah's character. We don't know what would have happened. He should have gone for help, yes, but he's a stupid kid again. So it doesn't seem like this crazy trauma. And that is apparently the trauma that then propagated throughout generations. Like, we don't get the connection for where this trauma happened and why the characters eventually latched on to the different people. Like, we don't know if we don't have a connection between these Dutch children and Benjamin slash Noah, Lynn, and Eli. We don't know that. There was no information. So did these spirits just kind of like sit for centuries? Were there other people that had these hallucinations, had these connections that we didn't hear about? Maybe. We don't get any information there. I mean, what caused it to attach to Benjamin? It's not that it attached when Benjamin went to the farmhouse, because Benjamin had been having issues before the farmhouse, and the farmhouse seemed to trigger it. I guess maybe Benjamin was kind of like maybe he was more spiritually attuned, and then when he went to the farmhouse, that's when it attached. But it sounded like things had been happening to Benjamin before. Remember, Lynn was treating him. He'd had worm fantasies, worm episodes, and then they went to the farmhouse, and that's when he went downhill. So we don't know how they got there. Also, what's up with the worms? I guess maybe that is an analogy for like the worms eating up Noah, female child Noah, but we didn't see that, which I agree that would be like really gross, but that would at least give us a connection to why there are worms there. It's not like they were fishing. If they were fishing, maybe there would be worms about that, and maybe like Eli's character put a worm on Noah's face and she like freaked out, hit her head, fell in the water, drowned. That would at least be a connection. That would be something that would be like, oh, that's why there's worms there. You don't, we don't get that. So the worms just feel like separate. I mean, I guess you could assume it's like if you're dead, you're going to be eaten by worms, and that might be where it came from, but we don't really get that good of a connection there. Also, why was Lynn drowned? It seems like it seems like Noah should be the one that was drowned. Lynn had a lot of similarities to the Noah Dutch girl, and other than a water motif, we don't really get much. And it's not like, Noah's character wanted revenge on Lynn. Didn't seem like that. It was just all these things that happened just didn't really seem to have a good connection to the underlying trauma. Like, maybe if they had drawn some more connections, maybe if like they had all grown up in a small town, or maybe they started speaking Dutch, or that they went there on a trip. Like, I don't know, anything to like get why all these past lives intersected. Maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is that eventually the trauma was there and they had to fix it. And in order to do that, they had to go back and into the before to figure out what happened and how could they get to the after. That's probably it. Also, the whole like thing with Eli's mental problems where he wants to jump into an empty swimming pool, that made it for an interesting visual at the start, but the connection there to back in the days when she wants him to jump in a frozen lake, again, not like a really great connection. Anyways, it was okay. I wish there was a little bit more of a fulfilling explanation for what happened. I wish the trauma was a little bit more. And that's a weird thing to say when you're involving a death of a child, but it doesn't feel like it was as traumatic to justify like the spirits, you know, going through into future lives and causing all of this havoc in order to rectify something that happened. So that is before. Like I said, it's okay. I am glad I watched it. I don't love it, but I think it was decent enough. If you do watch it though, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you. Lynn had a lot of similarities to the Noah kid, to the Noah daughter, to the Noah Dutch girl